Hi, I'm Aspen. The champagne in my glass had gone flat an hour ago, matching my mood as I sat at the corner table, alone at my cousin Mia's wedding. The empty chair beside me might as well have had a neon sign above it reading, "Stood up." My date, correction, my now ex-boyfriend Drew, was supposed to be here, but his text 40 minutes before the ceremony made it clear he had other plans. Is this seat taken? I looked up to find a tall man in a well-fitted charcoal suit, gesturing to the vacant chair beside me. Dark hair, kind eyes. Only by my disappointment, I replied, attempting a smile. But feel free. He sat down, loosening his tie slightly. I'm Carter, friend of the groom. Aspen, cousin of the bride. Carter glanced around the reception hall, then leaned in conspiratorially. So, who stood you up? Boyfriend? That obvious, huh? The death grip on your phone and the fact you've checked it 17 times since I noticed you might have been a clue. I laughed despite myself. Ex-boyfriend as of 3 hours ago. Drew had a work emergency that mysteriously coincided with the wedding he's been dreading for months. His loss. Carter took a sip of his drink. Listen, I have a proposition. Everyone's watching you sitting here alone, especially that group of aunties in the corner who keep looking over with tragic expressions. I groaned. That would be my Aunt Vivian and her gossip committee. They've already texted me twice asking if everything's okay with you and that nice young man. So, here's my offer. Act like you're with me for the night. No more pity looks, no awkward questions, and you get to enjoy your cousin's wedding without being the subject of family concern. I narrowed my eyes. That's actually not a terrible idea. But why would you do that for a complete stranger? Carter shrugged. Maybe I'm just a good Samaritan. Or maybe I'd rather not explain to every second person why I came alone to my best friend's wedding. Mutually beneficial deception. I can work with that. A voice interrupted our conversation. Aspen, there you are. My friend Zoe approached, concern etched on her face. I've been looking everywhere. Where's Drew? Carter extended his hand smoothly. I'm Carter, filling in for the absent Drew. Nice to meet you. Zoe's eyebrows shot up. Oh, I didn't realize. She gave me a look that clearly said we'd be discussing this later. Carter and I just met, I explained, then caught myself. I mean, we've known each other through work connections. Right, Carter? Absolutely. Marketing conference last fall. We reconnected when we realized we'd both be at this wedding. Zoe looked between us, not entirely convinced. Well, that's convenient. Aspen, can I borrow you for just a moment? Once we were safely by the dessert table, Zoe gripped my arm. Who is that guy? And what happened to Drew? Drew canceled. Text message 40 minutes before the ceremony. That jerk? Why? Work emergency, I said, making air quotes. But Nora just posted a story of him at the basketball game with his buddies. Are you serious? That's it, he's dead to us now. She glanced back at Carter. But who's your replacement date? He's cute. Just a nice guy who saw me sitting alone and offered to pretend to be my date so I wouldn't look pathetic. That's actually sweet. Or serial killer behavior, not sure which. He's friends with Jason, so probably not a murderer. When we returned, Carter was chatting with my cousin Max, looking perfectly at ease. The conversation flowed naturally as we all talked, and for the first time that evening, I felt my tension melting away. As the night progressed, Carter and I danced, chatted with relatives, and crafted increasingly elaborate stories about our fictional relationship. With each passing hour, the sting of Drew's betrayal faded slightly, replaced by genuine laughter. Until my phone buzzed with a message from Nora. You need to see this. Attached was a photo of Drew, arm around a blonde I recognized all too well. Vanessa, my coworker who'd been helping him with his resume for the past month. Your face just went from having fun to contemplating murder in 2 seconds flat, Carter observed as we sat back down at our table. Everything okay? I wordlessly handed him my phone. His eyes widened as he took in the image. Ah, the true work emergency, I'm guessing. Carter passed the phone back. That's Vanessa, my coworker. We share an office. Double betrayal. Classic. He studied my expression. What do you want to do about it? Right now? Nothing that wouldn't get me arrested at my cousin's wedding. Max dropped into the seat beside us, champagne sloshing dangerously close to the rim of his glass. What's with the serious faces? This is a celebration. I forced a smile. Just work stuff. Nothing important. Speaking of work, Max said, lowering his voice. Did you know Vanessa from your office is dating someone from your company? Mom was telling me. Apparently, it's been going on for months. Very hush-hush because of some workplace policy. My stomach dropped. Months? Are you sure? Yeah, Mom's friend Barbara works in your HR department. Said they've been sneaking around since February at least. February. Drew and I had been together for 11 months. Max, I need details. Everything you know about this. Looking confused by my intensity, Max continued. Not much else to tell. Barbara mentioned they'd been reprimanded once already for inappropriate behavior at work. Something about getting caught in the supply closet? Carter placed a subtle hand on my back, a silent show of support. Do you have Barbara's number? I asked. Sure, but why? I just need to verify something for work. A half-truth. After getting Barbara's contact information, I excused myself to make a call. In the quiet hallway outside the reception, Barbara confirmed what I feared. Drew and Vanessa had been seeing each other for at least 6 months, and HR had documentation of their relationship predating Drew's claims that they were just friends. When I returned to the table, Zoe immediately noticed my expression. What happened? She demanded. Drew's been cheating with Vanessa for 6 months. HR has documentation? That lying... Zoe cut herself off. What are you going to do? First, I'm going to enjoy the rest of this wedding, I said, with more confidence than I felt. Then I'm going to figure out exactly how to handle this situation professionally. Carter leaned in. If you want my 2 cents, document everything. Texts, emails, timestamps. If there's a workplace policy they've violated and it affects your professional environment, you have options. You sound like you've dealt with something like this before, I observed. Corporate lawyer, he explained with a slight smile. Workplace impropriety cases are unfortunately common. A lawyer? That's convenient. At your service, he said with a small bow. Free consultation, wedding special. Zoe interrupted. Aspen, Vanessa has access to your client files, doesn't she? The Henderson account? My blood ran cold. The Henderson account was my biggest client, one I'd brought to the company. Drew had been asking questions about it recently, claiming he was interested in my work. I need to check something. I pulled out my laptop from my oversized purse. I'd brought it to show Mia photos from our recent family reunion. Within minutes, my suspicions were confirmed. Someone had accessed my files 2 days ago using my credentials, reviewing confidential information for the Henderson presentation scheduled for Monday. They're trying to steal my client, I said, the realization hitting me like a truck. Drew's been pumping me for information, and Vanessa's been accessing my files. Carter's expression turned serious. That's not just unethical. That could be illegal depending on your contracts and company policies. What should I do? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. Document everything now. Screenshot the access logs, save them externally. Then first thing Monday, you go to your boss and HR with evidence of both the relationship they lied about and the unauthorized access. Max, who'd been quietly listening, added, My roommate Taylor works in IT at your company. He could probably help verify the access logs officially. With newfound purpose, I spent the next 20 minutes documenting everything while Carter, Zoe, and Max offered suggestions. For the first time since seeing that text from Drew, I felt a sense of control returning. Monday morning arrived with a storm of emotions. Armed with documentation and witnesses, I walked into the office with my head high. First stop, my boss's office. Aspen, what can I do for you? Patricia asked, gesturing for me to sit. I need to discuss a serious issue involving Drew, Vanessa, and my client files. Her expression shifted immediately. Close the door. I laid out the evidence methodically. Access logs, time-stamped screenshots, witness statements from coworkers who'd seen them together while Drew was supposedly with me. and Barbara's HR documentation. I suspected something was happening, but not to this extent, Patricia said, reviewing the evidence. The Henderson account. That's your biggest client? Yes, and they're presenting to them today, using my strategy, my research. Patricia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. They're in the conference room right now, setting up for the Henderson meeting. What do you want to do? She asked. I want to confront them, with you present, and then I want to present to Henderson myself as planned. Patricia nodded. Let's go. When we walked into the conference room, Drew and Vanessa were arranging presentation materials. My presentation materials. They froze when they saw us. Patricia, Drew recovered quickly, flashing his charming smile. We were just getting ready for the Henderson meeting. So I see, Patricia replied coolly. Aspen has some concerns about this presentation. Drew's eyes narrowed slightly when they met mine. Aspen, I thought you were taking today off. After missing our date Friday, I figured I should step in to help. Missing our date? I kept my voice steady. You mean the wedding you canceled on me for a work emergency that turned out to be a basketball game with your friends? That date? Vanessa stepped forward. This is obviously a personal issue. Perhaps we should discuss the presentation. This isn't just personal, I interrupted. This is about you two accessing my files without authorization and attempting to steal my client. Drew's face hardened. That's a serious accusation, with serious evidence to back it up. I nodded to Patricia, who slid the folder of documentation across the table. Drew flipped through it, his expression darkening. This is nothing. You're overreacting because you're jealous. Save it, Drew. I cut in. The access logs don't lie. Neither does the HR documentation about your relationship that's apparently been going on since February. 6 months of lying to my face while dating my coworker. Vanessa paled. How did you... It doesn't matter how I know. What matters is that you both violated company policy by lying about your relationship, accessing my files without authorization, and attempting to present my work as your own. Drew's demeanor shifted from defensive to pleading. Aspen, come on. We can talk about this privately. I made a mistake. I admit it. But this... He gestured to the documentation. This is taking things too far. No, Drew. You took things too far when you decided to cheat, lie, and steal my work. Aspen, please. I'm sorry. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. Patricia will be reporting this to HR, and I'll be presenting to Henderson as planned. Drew's face contorted with anger. You're making a big mistake. I was trying to help your career. You never would have landed Henderson without my connections in the first place. Is that what you think? I laughed without humor. Henderson signed with us because of my strategy, not your golf buddies. Drew stepped toward me aggressively. You ungrateful. That's enough, Patricia interjected firmly. Drew, Vanessa, I'll need you both to go to HR immediately. Aspen will handle the Henderson presentation as originally planned. The Henderson presentation went flawlessly. Without Drew and Vanessa's interference, I presented my strategy confidently, and the clients were visibly impressed. Later that afternoon, Patricia called me to her office. Both Drew and Vanessa have been terminated, effective immediately, she informed me. The unauthorized access to confidential information, combined with their failure to disclose their relationship as required by company policy, left us no choice. And the Henderson account? I asked. Secure. They were very impressed with your presentation. In fact, Patricia smiled slightly. They've requested you as their exclusive point of contact moving forward. As I left Patricia's office, I found Zoe waiting by my desk. Well, what happened? She demanded eagerly. They're both gone. Fired. Good. After what they did, they deserved it. She studied my expression. How are you feeling about it all? Honestly, relieved, and proud that I handled it professionally instead of making a scene at the wedding. Speaking of the wedding, Zoe raised an eyebrow. A little bird told me you exchanged numbers with your fake date. My phone buzzed with a text. Carter. Heard the professional confrontation went well. Celebratory coffee? That evening, I met Carter at a cafe near my office. The initial awkwardness quickly dissolved into comfortable conversation. So, Carter said, Drew tried to apologize? More like tried to manipulate the situation to make me look unreasonable. Classic gaslighting. And you didn't accept his apology? There was nothing to accept. An apology without changed behavior is just manipulation. Besides, he was only sorry he got caught. Carter nodded. How does it feel having stood your ground? Empowering. For months, I felt something was off, but kept doubting myself. Standing up for myself, protecting my work, my reputation. It feels right. You handled it like a pro, he said. Many people would have settled for the emotional satisfaction of a public confrontation. I considered it, I admitted. But ultimately, I wanted consequences, not drama. As we continued talking, the conversation shifted from Drew and Vanessa to our own interests and ambitions. You know, I said eventually, when you first suggested pretending to be my date at the wedding, I thought it was just a kind gesture to save me from embarrassment. It was, he insisted. I had no ulterior motives. I know that now. But it turned out to be so much more helpful than either of us could have anticipated. Sometimes the right person shows up exactly when you need them, Carter suggested. Is that what happened? You were the right person at the right time? He smiled. I'd like to think so, although I'm hoping our connection extends beyond just good timing and workplace justice. What exactly are you suggesting, counselor? I'm suggesting that next time we meet, it's not as fake dates or for legal consultations, just two people who enjoy each other's company. I pretended to consider this carefully. I think I could agree to those terms. As I walked home later, I reflected on the whirlwind of the past few days. What had started with betrayal had transformed into an opportunity to stand up for myself professionally, to enforce proper boundaries, and perhaps to meet someone who respected those boundaries. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes, not because the betrayal wasn't painful, but because it revealed truths I needed to see and cleared the path for something better. What would you do if you discovered someone close to you was undermining your career? Would you confront them professionally or opt for a more personal approach? Share your thoughts in the comments below.